Hello and welcome. Today is January the 6th. The year is 2019. I am your host, Timothy Allen. I am the moderator coordinator for the Pennsylvania Grand Jural Assembly. It is actually called the Pennsylvania Common Law Grand Jural Assembly. With that in mind, the reason for this video is because I have listened to uh, many a confused person not completely understanding what a Jural Assembly is and why a Jural Assembly exists. So, I'm going to simply bring forward, as of this day, what the Jural Assembly here in Pennsylvania has been up to and what we have been working on, because I hear a lot about what needs to be done. Um, so I'll just bring you up to date. It's the easiest way for me to do this. If the assembly is called the Pennsylvania Common Law Grand Jural Assembly, what do you think that means? The Jural Assembly is the grand jury of Pennsylvania. We don't need to go out and try to create another grand jury. We don't need to create a grand jury according to somebody else's law or opinion. We don't need to create a grand jury according to the Magna Carta. We already have our own organic law. That law is, in fact, the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation is the law of the land. It is the law of the land, and therefore it specifically states exactly what we are allowed to do. Here, let me go ahead and grab that real quick and read it. Okay, so Part 2 of the Articles of Confederation says, each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right. So, each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right. That includes the right to create our jural assemblies. So, within that thought frame, the Articles of Confederation have just given us the power, the authority, the freedom to create our grand juries. So we have the Pennsylvania Common Law Grand Jury assembled. It's the same thing. Grand Jury Assembly is a grand jury assembled. Grand Jural Assembly. All right. So, what do we do with that? Well, here we have already brought forth our delegates. We have a first delegate and a second delegate set and ready to go to the Continental Congress. We have a secretary for the assembly. We have set in motion, we are already speaking and grooming, if you will, a member, well, a participant. The assembly does not have members. We have participants. So we are putting together our notary. Whenever the grand jury assembles, they will bring forward the notary, and that notary works like a judge. But this will be a notary for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This will not be a notary for a community. This will be for the Commonwealth. That being said, this notary for the Commonwealth will then be able to seal all of our paperwork moving forward. Now, the reason that this is important is because we do have paperwork to bring forward. Here in Pennsylvania, we have broken up the state into 16 communities. We went back to 1785. The last properties that were purchased from the Indians were the Northwestern Territory properties up near Erie and over to the Ohio line. That created the last county or community in Pennsylvania. So there were 16 in 1785. So we are going back to that original 16 in 1785 and bringing forward those 16 communities. When those 16 communities come forward, then we will be able to put in place our 16 delegates. When that happens, we will have a working government. And that can all be done with a grand jury. You have a grand jury assembly for a reason. The grand jury assembly is the power of people. Even the corporate Supreme Court decided, they said that the grand jury is the fourth arm of government. Well, for us, it is the first and only arm of government. According to the Articles of Confederation, it is the only arm of government that is required at this point in time. So we have our grand jury assembled, which is the grand jury assembly. Now we bring forward our notary, we elect that notary properly, and then within that structure, we bring forward our 16 counties. And we do that here in Pennsylvania. I'm going to bring this up because I want to read this for you. What we have here in Pennsylvania is we have been working diligently on creating our own declaration and covenant. Now, we are not creating new law. We are the law givers. That's what gives us the power and authority as a sovereign people to become lawgivers, but we all have already done that. We have our maxims. We have the maxims that are the law. We are not creating new law. So understand what the General Assembly is doing. They are bringing about the reconciliation of what already is in place but needs to be brought forward properly. But we have been recreating our declaration and covenant. Now within that we have different frameworks. We have within that we have the original Constitution from Pennsylvania of 1776, but we also have the new Covenant Unite brought forward in March of 2018. So we have our governance set up and established. So what I'm saying is within this governance, this section we call governance, we have the notary explained, we have the delegates explained, the sheriff, we have a coroner, we have commissioners, we have the scribes, we also have a secretary. So all of that governing factors, they are all described within that governance. And then we also have the 16 communities described because there are 67 counties in Pennsylvania. So we had to take all of that information and describe it properly. We have the borders of the state described. So there's no leeway for anyone to come back later and say anything about that. The reason that I am mentioning this is because whenever that notary is put into place, we are then going to be able to bring forth our governance. When we bring forward those 16 communities, that's within this governance that I'm talking about. So by bringing forward our preamble, which I want to read to you right now, we will be establishing the government again on the land here in Pennsylvania. And that's done again through the grand jury assembled, or the grand jural assembly. So this is the Pennsylvania preamble to our governance. We, the living mankind, people, man and woman of Pennsylvania, keep our moral standard high. This day we understand our patriarchal and matriarchal authority and substance of our organic happiness is under the crown of Christ and the knowledge that all mankind are created equal. Our high moral standard of justice being our maxims in life, liberty, happiness, in our Pennsylvania common law is like our flag, which is flown above any other within our borders, and our thoughts for the living do not mingle with the dead. We are self-governing. Our family is our first moral concern, followed by our neighborhoods, our communities, our state, and the last is our federal constructs and international treaty. I want to stop there for just a second. So, within the confines of this governance that we have created, we have the family first on the top, and then our neighborhoods. That could be like the townships. And then we have communities, which are like counties. And then we have the state, and then the federal. So I'm going to continue reading, and you will understand why this is important. So our family is our first moral concern, followed by our neighborhoods, our communities, our state, and last is our federal constructs and international treaty. This is why our Republican form of governance starts with our local families. We are the promoters of private property because our families must have stable, sovereign foundations. When the private family property is safe from rustlers, pirates, thieves, or commercial interference, then the Republican form of government is also secure. We live within our inherent and unalienable rights, including the honor of defending ourselves, neighbors, properties, and our land. We acknowledge whoever creates our money creates the rules of finance. Therein, only we create our money. And I'll speak to this in that we, the people, create our own money. I will leave it at that for the moment, but this also takes into context the Continental Congress because we, the people, are creating our own money. So our maxims are to do no harm to mankind, to not to break the public peace, and not to break the public trust. Those are the three maxims. Let me read them again. Our maxims are to do no harm to mankind, do not break the public peace, and do not break the public trust. We secure our governance from old in that our juries are sovereign in Christ like the 12 apostles, and our grand juries are like the 24 elders. These are to be operated first from a high moral goodness by faith in our divine Creator's wisdom and justice. We believe in one divine source of all energy and consciousness and the high moral standard that our source of all our life compels us to seek continuously. And lastly, we are the people living in, from, and on the soil which is Pennsylvania. And we create this, our covenant, and declare our resurrected flesh are intact, free, and our resolve is strong. So, our preamble to our governance is a short version of that governance. By bringing forth this preamble of the governance, we establish the government. It's like the Constitution of Pennsylvania. The Constitution of Pennsylvania originally of 1776 was only one page. And then after that, they created a Bill of Rights, if you will. So we are doing the same thing here. I want to mention this because if you think about what happened, but corporately, after the war between the states, so to speak, in they created the Act Okay, so I'm going blank here. Okay, so the Organic Act of the District of Columbia of 1871. All right, and it didn't fly. That was supposed to create the municipal government, but it didn't fly. So a couple of years after that, it fell apart. Instead, what they did was between 1878 and 1881, they took that same act and they split it up into pieces. And they added a piece here and a piece there and a piece here, a piece there. They piecemealed it back together to come up with a new constitution, a new form of government, which was the municipal government. They piecemealed it. Well, we are the Grand General Assembly, and we are the law givers, not creating new law, but using the law that already exists in order to bring forward what we need to do. So by bringing forward this particular section of our declaration and covenant, we are establishing the rule of law. We are establishing, we are creating the delegates of the 16 communities and the office of notary in all of what I'm talking about. That is the actual organic government. And then we turn around and we go back to the communities and we bring forward the notary, the sheriff, the commissioner, and the scribe. And then each community creates their own grand jury. That's the way it works. And so I hope that you have got a better idea of what we're doing here in Pennsylvania, because for a lot of folks, they just didn't understand the importance and the value and the power, the authority, the sovereignty, the freedom of the Grand General Assembly according to the Articles of Confederation, which is the law of the land. We're not rewriting anything. We're not making new law. We are simply using what is already established to fill those positions that were vacated whenever the corporate pirates came in and deceived everybody into thinking that they were the government when they were just foreign pirates. Foreign pirates. Oh, let me go and read this real quick. Um, you're going to freak when when. All right, so I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but in the Articles of Confederation, you go down to section 9. Let me make sure I got it. Okay, section 9, paragraph 5. It's the last paragraph, anyway. Okay, so, no, it's not section 9. I will find it here real quick. Here it is. Okay, so this is section 6, paragraph 5. This is our power. Think about this. Okay, so it says, no state shall engage in any war without the consent of the United States and Congress assembled. So right now we have the Committee of the States. That's not a problem. Okay, so, but putting that aside, unless such state be actually invaded by enemies, that's what it says. Well, we are invaded by enemies, folks. All right, so I'm going to skip through this down to the bottom of paragraph 5. So in the beginning it says, no state shall engage in war without the consent of the United States and Congress assembled unless such state be actually invaded by enemies. I'll read it. Or shall have received certain advice of a resolution being informed by some nation of Indians to invade such state. And the danger is so imminent as not to admit of delay till the United States and Congress assembled can be consulted. Nor shall any state grant commissions to any ships or vessels of war, nor letters of marque or reprisal, except it be after a declaration of war by the United States and Congress assembled. Then only against the kingdom or state of the subjects thereof, against which war has been so declared, and under such regulations as shall be established by the United States and Congress assembled. So, at this point, we're not allowed to go to war unless we have been invaded. Continuing. Unless, it says here, okay, unless such state be infested by pirates. What? Yeah, it says in the Articles of Confederation, Part 6, Paragraph 5, we are not allowed to go to war unless such state, unless Pennsylvania is infested by pirates, in which case vessels of war may be fitted out for that occasion and kept so long as the danger shall continue or until the United States and Congress assembled shall determine otherwise. What this says is because we are infested by pirates, inland pirates, every court is full of pirates. They're doing everything by piracy. In which case, the vessels of war, I am a vessel of war. I am a vessel of war. You are a vessel of war. Doesn't have to be an army tank. Doesn't have to be a tool. A tank is a tool. A man is a weapon. Understand this. A gun is a tool. A man is a weapon. So, being a vessel of war. So, in which case, vessels of war may be fitted out for that occasion. Folks, these people have declared war on us. I'm not telling you to go to war. I'm not telling you to even do battle with any of these folks. But if you take this into a courtroom, they don't stand a chance in hell. I'm just saying it. You know, I think that someone should try that because this makes a lot of sense. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. We found that a couple of weeks ago. We were reading through the Articles of Confederation and thought that was pretty interesting. Sun's coming up. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to let you go. I hope that this has helped. I hope that you can begin to understand the power that's in the Articles of Confederation. We don't have to make up new law. Laws are already made. We don't have to go to war. The mission statement of the Republic is basically we're not remaking anything, or we're not. What is that mission statement? We're not. F. Buckminster Fuller. We're not remaking anything, but yeah, we're going to remake everything. We're not using the old paradigm. We're going to just make a new paradigm. How's that? So with that in mind, again, I hope this has been good. You can go to www.pennsylvaniaassembly.org. We have a lot of information out there if you're interested. You can go ahead and use the contact page to contact me, and I will try to answer any questions that you might have. And with that, I bid you farewell and have a wonderful day.